This is CL King coming to you live. I'm telling you what, if anything could go wrong, I mean, look at it. That's why I can't take myself too seriously. I didn't scream. I didn't yell. I wanted to, but I didn't. This is Impact Life 24/7 with your host, CL King, and I am in the High Definition Studios here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And everything that I tried to do was undone by technology. And that's the beautiful thing about running a live show because it's show business. Greg says, man, it's show business. The show must go on. And so I couldn't get nothing to work right, man. And so I said, you know what, Celia, you are a subject matter expert. We need to hear from you, and I am going to make this show work. And so we're blessed to be able to have a return guest on our show. And that's not often that we do that. We've been doing it more often, ladies and gentlemen. But to get a return slot on Impacting Life 24/7, you've got to be bringing the heat. And so, but more importantly than who we are as people, sorry, Greg, for being so late, brother. More importantly than who we are as people, it's the people that we're going to be talking about. See, because Celia's a parent, I'm a parent, but when you talk about the byproduct or the reason why we're parents is because of the children. It's because of the kids. If we didn't have kids, we wouldn't be parents. And so I think we've got to be able to, that's why I had Celia back on to close this school year out. We got to be able to bridge the gap between screaming and losing your cool and actually parenting with some compassion. So I am blessed to have back in the High Definition Studios my friend from all the way from Maryland, Miss Celia Kibler. Welcome, Celia.
Hi, CL. I'm thrilled to be back.
And for those of you seeing us on our live feature, and you know that I don't normally dress like this, just please grant me some compassion, okay? Because I'm glad I wore this shirt. Don't you think, Celia?
I love Minions. Minions, they're my peeps, you know.
Well, as she saw me fumbling and frustrated with technology not working after I done did the whole checklist, why isn't it working? I said, okay, I'm wearing the right shirt. I've got the parenting expert on. I can't lose my cool.
Exactly. Exactly. How can you lose your cool with big eyeballs on your?
I know, really, huh? You got to understand. Don't take yourself so seriously. So, welcome, Celia. Welcome back. We just had you on in March, and such a blessing to have you in the expert field that you have labored in for over 40 years. But there's so many people that come by at different times. Many people will listen to our podcast that didn't listen to it before. So I would love for you, Celia, the first thing that I like for you to do is tell people how they can find you, because I want them to find you all night.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Celia Kibler, and I'm an author and a family empowerment coach. And I'm the founder of Pumped Up Parenting, which you can find at pumpedupparenting.com, and the founder of FunFit Family Fitness. You can find that at funfit.com. And I am on a mission to stop 1 million parents from yelling at their kids and start creating childhood that all of you can blossom from. We have to stop recovering from our childhoods. So I'm a mom of 5, 2 I gave birth to, 3 I gained through marriage, and a grandma to 9. And you can find me all over social media at Pumped Up Parenting and Celia Kibler.
Celia Kibler and Pumped Up Parenting. And yes, Celia, you're right. We have to stop trying to, I forget what you said there, but we have to stop recovering from our childhoods.
Exactly.
And living vicariously through, those moments through our kids and taking it out on our kids, or maybe not even aware. So we don't want to waste any time, especially since CL started late. And my pay might get docked for that, Celia. So we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna get right to the core of the matter. Yelling at your kids. Now I got some questions for you. I told her, since she's a return guest, I can't ask any of the questions that I asked last time. This isn't a rerun. This is just a reappearance. When we talk about yelling at your kids, we know that happens, but um is there a percentage that you have, and I didn't prep you with this question, but is there a percentage that you have of parents that have yelled at their kids?
Well, I think right now, during the year of the pandemic, I would say about 90% of parents have yelled at some point of time or another. I will tell you there was a study done, and a child hears the word no 400 times on average during a day, hears the word yes 35 times on average. So we are definitely running some negative households, and negativity is not doing anyone any good.
Wow, y'all hear that? 400 something times that they're hearing no a day, that your child is hearing no a day, and only what, how many times? 30?
35 times they hear
35
yes. Isn't that
times
crazy?
that a child is hearing yes. And here's what you got to realize, okay? Because I was telling Celia that I'm a motivational speaker. That's what my niche, that's what my life passion is. Secondarily, I somehow became a podcast host and a radio DJ. I don't know, but we're all, and Celia is the same. She just gave a speech just recently. We're constantly saying you can do this, you will, you got this. This is yours. The world is yours. But when we hear the statistics, it's actually the a stark opposite of you can and you will and the world is yours. Over
Exactly.
400, yeah, and here's a we. This is why we need your help, Celia. Those formative years, because parents are saying, "Well, I'm saying no because I don't want them to fall down the steps," or "I'm saying no because I don't want them to touch the stove," or "I'm saying no because I don't want them to eat the dog food." So I'm, to that parent out there that's listening right now, they might say to Celia, well, does it no have its place?
And no does. I've actually had parents say, oh, so now we're not supposed to say no anymore. And that's absolutely not the point. The point is you need to set up your home for success. You
Mm,
need to encourage your children to be able to learn more and explore more and discover more. And if you're saying no to everything, if your home is set up, say you have a toddler and your home is set up for with all kinds of things that they can't touch, and you
mm,
have to say no all the time, you're crushing their curiosity. And when you crush their curiosity, you crush their intelligence. A toddler, you have to know what you're working with. And a toddler is born to this earth with a about half a brain. The rest of his brain is not developed, a brain that's full of emotion and full of curiosity. They just got here. So if they see something cool and shiny, they want to smell it, taste it, feel it,
right.
you know. And if you're constantly saying no to everything, they're not learning. You're not encouraging that curiosity and encouraging that,
Wow.
experience that they
Man,
can be having.
we did not ask that question last time, because I don't, that's new revelations to me. And see, I'm thinking in my mind's eye, some folks' house is so precious that you don't, we hardly got invited out a lot when we was raising the kids, because we had so many of them. They were just afraid that, oh my goodness, we can't have the kids over. They got kids. And the truth of the matter is if you're raising kids, especially in your house, and your house is so precious that it stifles curiosity, maybe you should do a reevaluation of the stuff you have out in your house. Huh?
Exactly. And I'm not saying that kids can't learn, through limits and boundaries, that this might be something that they don't touch. It's not theirs, it belongs to something. Just like kids have a right to have things that are theirs. And maybe there are certain toys they don't share because they're toys that are special to them. So they stay in an area of the house that, they don't have to share with their siblings or their friends. But reality is, look at your house, and if you've got glass crystal vases and you have things that are sitting on end tables that a toddler can reach perfectly,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be wiser to put that delicate item up on a shelf so you don't have to always say no to that child? No, no, you're not supposed to touch that.
No,
That's a well,
no,
move it.
no,
You
no,
know, I
no,
mean,
right.
look at it logically. So you get down on your knees, crawl around your house, and look at stuff from the viewpoint of your child and see what they see. And if there's something you don't want them to touch, that would be the time to move it.
Wow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to parenthetically insert something here because she did talk about boundaries, and boundaries do not stifle curiosity. In fact, boundaries are secure. That when you think about boundaries, I think about going from here to Texas, and all along that route are boundaries. There's curbs, there's stoplights, there's boundaries everywhere, right? But
Exactly.
I'm still allowed to go forward, and no one's telling me no, you can't go, because the road has been prepared for me to travel on. The road has been prepared for me to expand my horizons.
Absolutely.
And so you can incorporate boundaries with curiosity. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I had my Fun Fit program was a kids fitness program, and I had a parent say that she didn't want her child throwing a ball
Right.
because he would throw it in the house. And throwing a ball, tell you honestly, is one of the most important things you can teach your child to do, because it teaches them about body coordination and balance and all of that.
Right.
And I said, well, that is a boundary you set up. You don't throw a ball in the house, you throw a ball outside,
Right.
but you don't totally eliminate the fun of throwing a ball.
Right.
You set up a boundary and a limit for it. Boundaries and limits show your children that you care and you love them.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in to Impacting Life 24/7 with your host, CL King. I'm joined by Celia Kibler from, where exactly in Maryland are you? Or just
Just southeast of Baltimore,
just southeast of Baltimore.
in
We're
Glen
bringing,
Burnie.
we're bringing her back on for an encore appearance, ladies and gentlemen, which is hard, almost impossible to do on Impacting Life 24/7, especially in the time span that she got back on. We had her on in March, and I said, you know what, you're giving such good parenting information out. We got to have you on to close the school year out, and I'm already letting you know we're bringing you back in the fall. Okay, so, so just get ready to come back, because it's some. I live in a town where I think, aside from us old folks, now we like old here in this town, the average age is 23, and they have babies. Like, if you go into Walmart, I promise you will see one in the belly, one in the basket. You will see babies in this town. And so it's important for us on Impacting Life 24/7. What we do is bring people on this show that have an impact, and who are making an impact or who have been impacted. And looking forward to my friend Rob Wells. He just commented on here. We're going to have him on here shortly. He's got his own podcast too, and he's got a tremendous story that we can't wait to share with you all. But right now, one of the things that I recall you specializing in, and your mission is that you want to reach 1 million parents and get them to stop yelling at their kids. And I think that's what endeared me to you the most. The reason why I'm moving this cord for my live audience is because I want everybody to see my Minion shirt. I don't normally
It's
dress like
very special.
I don't you normally dress like this for my show, and my team could tell you I'm pretty business casual and probably a step above that. But I knew I was having the parenting doctor on today, and I said, you know what, King, she's gonna give you some tough medicine. Don't take yourself so seriously. Let's listen to her.
Exactly.
And so, Celia, we can find you, and Greg's got your website posted here. You can find her all over Facebook and on YouTube, pumpedupparenting.com, celiakibler.com, talkwithcelia.com. And so I want you guys to go there, because I'm going to be talking in the second half about some tremendous resources that Celia provides. She's got 4 books, 3 of them children, one for parents, and you want to get your hands on that parenting book. But we will get into that after our top of the hour commercial break. So what made you get on this quest? Because we got to get back, we got to go back a little bit, Celia, to talk about the effects of yelling that was in your life, even though you had a loving home. It was there was a lot of yelling going on, right?
There was, and yes, I did have a loving home, and I had two wonderfully loving parents. My father came from a home where he was physically and mentally abused. And although he did not bring the physical abuse into our home, which is, kudos to him, he did bring the mental abuse, and he had an extremely short temper. And the biggest thing is that, you never knew what would set him off.
Right.
We all kind of spent days on edge. There was a lot of music, there was a lot of singing, there was a lot of joy, joke telling, but there was an underlying stress because you never knew what would set off my dad. And my mom used to say it was like walking on eggshells,
Mhm.
which one would break, which would set him off. And then he would go into an uncontrollable screaming rage and then always feel guilty about it, always up until he passed away last year at 92. And even then, we were talking about how he regretted the way, he would treat my mom. I mean, treated my mom lovingly, but he would call her names and he would belittle her and, and then come out of it and apologize just like, abusers do. And that mental abuse can be so detrimental to, a child's brain because it plants all those little voices in your head that you guys listen to now.
Right. And we talked a little bit in the pre-show, which of course I was all disheveled in the pre-show, but I know we did have a pre-show. we
We did.
talked about we talked about some analytics and some data that I know is relative to what you do in your specialty. Again, those tuning in Impact Life 24/7. I'm joined with parenting expert and parenting coach and child fitness coach Celia Kibler, and you got some information relative to why yelling can be detrimental to your kids, right?
So simply, this is what yelling does to a child. And very often people don't think of yelling as abusive,
Mhm.
but I think it's one of the worst kinds of abuse because there's so much of it and
Right.
everybody does it. Now, everybody doesn't do it on a regular basis.
Right.
Some people just yell once in a while, and that is not as detrimental. But people who constantly yell at their kids don't know any other way how to communicate or reprimand them, do it through yelling. What you're doing to your child is first of all, you're making them feel worthless. They will grow up second guessing themselves all of the time. And I'd be willing to bet if you listeners were yelled at as a child, you're going to start realizing that these things are true because you feel this way. It makes a child feel like they do nothing right,
Mhm.
ever. They always do what's wrong. They wind up just doing things wrong because they don't have confidence in themselves. And the really sad part is that kids that are yelled at all the time and, you know, parented in an aggressive way, they don't grow up hating their parents. They grow up hating themselves. And that's the really sad part. And our tagline in Pumped Up Parenting is because we're raising adults, not children. That's why we do this. And if you're raising if you're yelling at your child, when that child becomes an adult, they're going to feel defeated. They're going to have no self worth, no confidence. They're going to go through life thinking, well, nothing I do is right. I might as well not do anything.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of adult you're creating.
It's interesting, Celia. Just listening to this, I'm going through flashbacks in my mind. Having my wife and I having parented 7 children, and the last 4 are at the house. One is getting ready to graduate from high school in just a few mere mortal days.
So awesome.
And I think about a speech I gave back in 2012, and it was about the SAR bell. You have to go look it up. I ain't giving it to you for free tonight. But I will say that a spinoff about this bell was that you can never unring a bell. And we did that with our big bullying campaign. Is that, man, once it's rang, all the regret in the world doesn't unring it. And
Exactly.
and it's like, wow, I don't want to live my whole time as a parent. And you just mentioned even your dad at 90 something years old. I don't want to live my whole time as a parent wallowing in regret because I just couldn't master or better adapt to this human being that I was raising.
Exactly. And you have to be willing to change. If you're regretting all you're doing, you have to step up to the plate and say, you know what, this stops with me.
Right.
This has to end. This generational cycle of dysfunction and abuse that goes on year after year, if I don't stop it, it will continue with my children. It will continue with my grandchildren. It will continue with my great grandchildren.
So
Somewhere it has to end.
so we're going to take the break at 9:05, guys. So at 9:05 we have a commercial break, and so it's just for us to give a shout out to our sponsors. It's nothing. All you got to do is sit there and smile, Celia. But I did want to ask you about some certain scenarios that people have. Like let's just take, because you have done a lot in all that you have in your resume, but you've also experienced a lot. You have children. You have five children. Two of them you birthed, right, and three
Right?
you were blessed with
Right.
by marriage.
Exactly.
And so my next question is going to kind of be a multi-part question. That's why I want to take a little bit of time before we go to the break. Relative to a blended family. Okay. Let's take this scenario of a blended family. You got a husband and a wife, and each one of them have a kid. Let's just keep it easy for numbers, right? And this one kid has lost the other parent through death, right? So the new step parent is in the picture, and this child is now rebelling, if whatever we want to use that term, is greatly resistant to their biological parent. Okay, not listening, uh doing things that are getting them in trouble. Just their behavior is just gone kind of in a spiral. And then this child is looking at the step parent and how he's parenting their children and their child, and is like, man, I'm getting yelled at for everything. I can't never do anything wrong, but it seems like they're treating their child like they hung the moon and stars. And so this creates a tenuous relationship in the marriage and amongst the children.
Correct.
I know this is a Dear Abby moment, but I need you to analyze that, because I presented that in a way with maintaining complete confidentiality from people who submitted questions to me. So you don't know the genders or anything like that, but we just leaving it out there. Help us kind of navigate how we need to turn the corner on this, because you got one dynamic here with a biological parent, and a child who they're
Button
there's a
heads.
lot of resistance. The parent feels like they're trying everything, and it's not working. Then the child is looking at the new parent and their child. This parent seems to always be on this child, but never on this child. What do we do? How do we start?
Well, I hope that when you consider blending families together, that you actually sit down and talk to your children.
Mm,
When I decided that I was going to marry my husband of now, of 25 plus years, and bring his three boys to my two children, and they were going to meet, we spoke about it. We talked about it. We talked about what could happen and different scenarios and what was expected once this family came together in our home. We
mhm.
did not just put them all together.
Right.
We talked about it and we continued to talk about it. So the idea is you continue to give your children a voice, all of your children. I don't care who they came from. They all get a voice on what is going on in your home.
Mm-hmm.
And they get opinions and you listen to them and you respect them, just like you want them to respect you. Respect is a two-way street.
Right.
They're not going to, if you don't respect them, why should they respect you? They don't people go, well, I'm their parent. Well, too bad. If you're rude to them and you don't respect them, you're not going to get respect back. You can yell, you can scream, you can do all that aggressive behavior, and then maybe they'll listen to you because they're afraid of you, but they're certainly not going to respect you.
So Celia, should a situation, and obviously, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a counseling show, but I do know parenting is a man. I've evolved as a parent. We had a small blend to our family because when Charity and I got married, she had a son and I had a son already. But Lord, we were 19, so a long time ago. Um,
That's
so when we're looking at this scenario, the scenario that I gave you, should it be approached where the biological parent and the child who's lost their other biological parent, should that be worked on in cooperation with the new step parent and his or her child, or should it be the kind of organic collaborative discussion that you're describing?
well, definitely the two parents that are coming together
Hmm.
now that are getting married need to be on the same page.
Hmm.
If you two are not on the same page, those children will learn to play you and will cause all kinds of issues.
Hmm.
So you two need to be on the same page, but you also need to discuss the factor of discipline. Are
Hmm.
you going to allow the step parent to reprimand or discipline or set up a consequence for the child that is not theirs?
Right.
Because that's important. And if you're not, then you have to take the reins and you take care of your child and they take care of their child. If
Hmm.
that's the kind of scenario you want to set up, many people do that and it works for them. They release the step parent from having responsibility of actually setting up consequences and disciplining and things like that.
Hmm.
In our family, I was pretty much everything. My husband, was there to discipline, but he was fine with me taking over. He was like, take over these 5 kids.
Yes, please.
So I'm like,
Have them.
please,
Yeah.
you
Right.
want to, they're yours.
Right.
And and so we were on the same page, but our methods were very similar. We talked about that. We talked about what would happen in different scenarios. And so you have to decide how that's going to work. But you have to put your egos aside. The difficulty thing with blended families, divorces, separations, all that is there. So many parents find their ego is more important than their children and the benefit of their children. And you really have to think of a, a process and a system that works for all of you. So
Yeah.
there is not all that conflict.
I'm really liking what you're saying. I'm fast forwarding to myself right now. We got a question in: what if the stepchild does not listen or mind doesn't behave at all? And I'm fast forwarding to my current four, and they're obviously a whole lot older, but I do know that when our approach with them is more synergy, more collaborative, I get so much more results out of them as opposed to I'm the Marine Corps dad. This is just the way life is, and you're going to do it my way. They may execute what I ask them to do, but the spirit is not there. The harmony is not there. You follow what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so I let me just insert this. You do offer now do you offer this for parenting, the hour strategy session that you give for free? Do you offer that for parenting, or is that for something else?
That's for parenting.
Okay.
So I
So
basically offer that to find out what's
yes.
what's not working in
So
your
Celia Kibler, and for those of you listening to our show and watching live, Celia Kibler, you can go to celiakibler.com. Is that where we can find that at?
the calendar to you can go to my calendar at
Talk
talkwithcelia.com
talk
and
with
set up a
Celia
time to talk.
talkwithcelia.com, because here's what I know that I've watched it in the church. I've been in ministry for 30 plus years, and sometimes the pastors just say, well, Jesus will take care of everything. Well, we also have to realize that there's some practical things in life that are struggles, that they're roadblocks, that we need other types of intervention. I believe God will heal my broken arm, but if he doesn't, can y'all please get me down to the hospital so I can put a cast
Right.
on it? That doesn't make my faith any less because I'm using some other interventions. Are you listening to what
Exactly.
I'm saying? Thank you.
God gave us a brain.
Right. And
We're
thank you.
supposed to use it.
Thank you, Greg, for putting that out there. Talkwithcelia.com. She gives a 1 hour session with her, strategy session, parenting session, because listen, when we talk the blended family piece, that can become, that, like you said, it can become very frustrating very fast. I see a frustration in the biological parent. I see frustration in the child. In particular, if you're talking about the scenario I gave you where the child lost their other biological parent not too long, you know what I mean? And so they're looking at this new person in the relationship with resentment,
Right.
right? So negotiating that, and then when they have their own child, and the perception is that this parent lets their kid do whatever, and they're always coming down on me. Yeah, there definitely needs to be a conversation.
Yeah. There's a lot of resentment there. And if the child lost a parent, even more so because you have to allow that child to mourn. And it is not a month of mourning, it's a year of mourning and more sometimes. So, you really have to understand your child. You have to understand where they're coming from. And you mostly have to realize that you're not talking to an adult. I mention all the time, the adult brain fully develops at 25 years old. Your children are not anywhere close to having a fully developed brains. So looking at them and expecting them to respond to you like an adult is not just difficult, it's impossible.
All right. So look, we went 2 minutes over. Let's get the commercial break in, and then we'll get right back to it. We plowing some corn today, ain't we, Celia?
We're doing good. They're doing
Yeah,
good.
I
Plowing the
love it.
field.
Yeah, well, that's what it's about, and that's what Impacting Life 24/7 is about. And we're thankful that we have sponsors that help us in this mission. Impacting Life 24/7 has some amazing sponsors, and we want to tell you about them. Here's our gold sponsors. Michelle Perry. Can you guys hear that commercial out there? Successful Diligence LLC, and yes, host of the Successful Diligence podcast. She is the best-selling author of The Pebble in My Shoe. You can connect with Michelle and get a copy of her best-selling book at successfuldiligence.com. Adrienne Barker. She is the host of the Adrienne Barker Speaks podcast, a life coach and CEO of Professional Global Etiquette, as well as a marketing and branding expert. She is the author of Head Down, Shut Up, Growing Up in the Family Business. Connect with her at professionalglobaletiquette.com. Katrina McCain, a renowned poet and author of Because She Decided to Love. Because She Decided to Love is a collection of poetry and prose about love and its impact on every relationship. This raw and uncut poetry book addresses the themes of how we express love through loss, hurt, pain, grief, and passion. Please connect with Katrina at poetkatrinamccain.com. Our platinum sponsors, Gregory Smith. He is the author of 100 Simple Ways How to Manage a Property and Evidence Room. Get your copy today by reaching out to Greg on Facebook, or you can email him at smithg1963 at yahoo.com. Greg is a humanitarian at heart. Often you will find Greg helping distribute food in the community and meeting any need that arises. Mr. Mike Black from New Bern, North Carolina. Mike's helped men throughout Eastern Carolina lead a faith-filled life. He is a compassionate leader in his church and a devoted husband, as well as a father to his daughter who recently graduated Army boot camp. Dr. Nate Dunlap Jr., the executive director of the PRF Institute. He is the author of What's Next? Preparing for Eternity, and the author of Don't Leave Me Like This, Inspiration to Leave a Legacy. PRF is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The PRF Institute is blessed to be the premier stewardship-based teaching ministry that truly responds to the needs of families and communities around the country. Find Dr. Dunlap and his amazing team at prfinstitute.org. To become a sponsor, reach out to clkingspeaker.com. You know what? I love that commercial every time I hear it, and not because I'm on it, because the music behind it is just straight on fire. Are you feeling some fire there, Celia?
I am fired up. Let's burn this down.
We don't do anything just halfway around here. We always got to go extreme, you know.
That's the way to go. If you're gonna go big.
So we're very, very thankful for our sponsors who help support Impacting Life 24/7. If you'd like to become a sponsor, we need your sponsorship. We need tens of thousands of dollars to take this apparatus on the road. Just go to clkingspeaker.com. I am joined in our virtual studios with Celia Kibler, and we have been discussing she's the mastermind behind Pumped Up Parenting. She has a mission to reach 1 million parents and beyond to stop yelling at their kids. And we talked, you guys got to go back and look at the first half. We talked about the effects of yelling. We talked about breaking the generational cycle. We talked about giving space to create and explore. We talked about mixing that with boundaries. And then we finished the last part of our discussion on blended families and the challenges that are there. And Celia has put together such an amazing package for us to share with our listeners tonight. And I just want to tell you at the onset that this is something that you want to take advantage of. Celia, you know, I'm scrolling through to try to find the website. It's called talkwithcelia.com to schedule a 1-hour parenting strategy session with Celia. She's got over 40 plus years of parenting experience. And with 9 grandchildren, I know she knows a few things about kids. So,
Right.
And so Celia, if just to close out that thought, if there is, like I told my son, I said, man, sometimes when I don't take my blood pressure or I don't walk by the scale, I'm ignoring my opportunity to intervene. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I'm having heart palpitations. I can't fit this shirt on anymore. I'm ignoring the symptoms, and there's a bigger problem on the horizon. So if you're talking about a blended family and there's symptoms of resistance, there's symptoms of I don't like that other parent, I think it's time to do a diagnosis. Would you say?
Well, the reality is with a family and parenting that if you don't reach out for help and you don't figure out maybe there's a better way to do all this, it will never just automatically get better. It's going to get worse. Your children will get older. They will go through different phases. If they're resentful at, 10, by 16, when their brain tells them they need to find a place to belong, and they're like, well, I don't like my family, I'm totally disconnected from them, they're going to go find a place to belong, and it's not going to be good. It is imperative that you take action now. If things are not going the way you thought they would, it is a sign of strength and a sign of true love for your children to reach out for help, to find a better way, because it's affecting all of you. It's not just affecting your kids, which it is, it's affecting you every day. I have parents tell me every day I wake up and by 9 o'clock, I'm yelling at my kids. They're not cooperating or so. How can you possibly have a good day if you're yelling at your kids by 9 o'clock and you're feeling all aggravated?
Right.
You've already set the aggravation and the negativity and the irritability in motion.
Wow. And I'm thinking about it. She talked a little bit, and I'm not comparing kids to my golden retriever that I got for my birthday in February, but there is some similarities. I would say that Samson is a big kid, and we've had to kind of even take out the finer things at his lower level because he's wagging his tail and bumping and everything and going. And I'm like, you know what? I want this. I don't want to always be saying to this dog that's a blessing to me. No, I want, because he's domesticated. He's in the house. I want him to be able to flourish and enjoy his house too. And so that's just a thought relative to what she said about if you've got fine crystals on your end tables and your kids can't explore, maybe we need to do some, repurposing for those when the kids are out of the nest, right?
Exactly.
So
And
someone,
there'll come a time when you can put them back.
yeah, they
You
will.
know,
There will.
just make your home welcome for your children.
Someone said this, and I'm from the old school. And this child gonna listen to me. I ain't that child's friend. What I say in this house goes. And what does Celia Kibler say to that?
Well, I actually get that question a lot because in my whole way of teaching parents how to parent their children is a cooperation. It does not mean you are not the parent. Chapter 4, I think it's chapter 4. I don't know, it's chapter 4. But there's a chapter in my book and it says, "Who's the boss?" And in big letters, the first paragraph is you. And
Mm-hmm.
even in my book, I'm like, well, I kind of wanted to end this chapter here and go on to the next chapter, but I figured you paid for the book. So
Right.
you wanted a little more information. You're still the boss. No matter what, you're
Right.
still the boss.
Right.
Except that what you're doing is instead of treating your children like they're a caged dog, telling them what to do, when to do, how to do it, you're giving them opportunities to become independent, to make choices, to learn. You don't give choices on things that are not negotiable.
Right.
If they have to go take a bath, you don't say, honey, do you want to take a bath? Yes or no, because when they say no, what are you going to do? It's time for a bath.
Right.
You give a choice on negotiables. Oh, do you want to wear your blue pajamas or your red pajamas?
Right.
That's
Right.
a negotiable.
That's
But
good. Yeah.
giving choices gives them a little control back where they wouldn't normally have control.
I'm gonna ask my live audience if you guys would like to comment on one of some of our audience has kids that are grown, some of them are parenting children now, and so what is, if you want to, you can comment. We'd love to know, as you're looking at yourself, what was one of the greatest challenges for you as a parent, not necessarily the challenge that your child brought to you, but the challenge that you saw within yourself, parenting your child. Just put that in the comment line, relative to the greatest challenge you saw. And mine was, I think my greatest challenge as a parent was inconsistency. uh and I look back now, I'm just like, okay, if you say whatever you said, and then 2 days later you're saying something different about the same thing, and then the child is more confused, like, okay, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to run? Do you want me to go? And inconsistency was probably one of my biggest challenges, as a parent, especially early on. What was one of your greatest challenges, Celia? Because you got it, but I do want to know from the expert.
Well, I didn't always have it. And, I created a lot of techniques and strategies with my blended family. And it's what I teach others to do because it worked for us and it works for others.
Right.
But my biggest challenge, I think, like anyone's challenge, is, giving into a child because they're so cute. I think that they're just so cute. And you're like, oh, well, you can't be sad. You're so cute.
Right.
But if you're giving into your child all the time and they're always getting their way, they become not so cute,
Right.
because they're throwing tantrums and they're whining and they're doing all kinds of things that are not particularly cute behavior, and you're not doing them any favors, because when you don't allow your child to experience disappointment, they grow up to be adults that don't know how to handle disappointment. And welcome to life when occasionally things don't go your way. So if you're not helping your kids learn how to understand what to do when something doesn't go your way, you're doing them a big disservice. So
Wow.
that was probably like my hardest challenge.
Well, Greg says one of his challenges was not letting his daughter go. She was his only daughter, and so that was his baby girl, and it was hard for him to let her go on and be an adult who now is a grown lady with a
Yeah.
beautiful child, and Greg spoiling that grandbaby to death. Of course.
But I'll tell you, Greg, when my daughter was in 10th grade, I started crying and I didn't stop until 12th grade. And she said, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Because you've almost graduated from high school." "Mom, I'm 2 years away." I'm like, "Oh, it'll be gone in a flash."
I've cried a lot too. Mike Black says being a long distance parent was one of his challenges. And I know Mike, his daughter just graduated not too long ago from Army boot camp. But yeah, he had to spend, a large portion of their relationship in a long distance relationship. Chip Hughes says one of the challenges was finding quality time. And I think that that echoes with a lot of us that are in the workforce or busy, or life is one of those things, and you set out with great intentions, we're going to have some good quality time, and then you're asleep in the bed.
Exactly, exactly. And when you're far away, keep in touch. That's my biggest advice. Don't forget to call, write, do all of that. And date nights, have date nights with your kids. They're never too old. My son is 32 years old, and when a new superhero movie comes out, we go out for dinner and a movie. Sometimes his wife comes, sometimes she doesn't.
Right.
They're never too old for you to let them know that they're always special.
They're always special. So my guest, ladies and gentlemen, who is a return guest, Celia Kibler, she is the expert on, she's the author of Raising Happy Toddlers. She also is the author of Being Different is Fun. That's for children. She's also the author of I Am Grateful and All About Me. And so for parents, though, the book is Raising Happy Toddlers: How to Build Great Parenting Skills and Stop. And so that's
Stop yelling at your kids.
yeah, stop yelling at your kids. That I needed to go down where it says see more. Not build great parenting skills and stop, but build great parenting skills and stop yelling at your kids. Yeah, build great parenting skills and
Exactly.
stop. I'm good.
It's soon to be out in Spanish.
Yeah, it will be
And
out.
released in Spanish very
Gonna,
soon.
going to be released in Spanish this Thursday, you said?
Uh,
No,
in about a week.
about a week or so.
I'm
Okay.
not guaranteeing the time.
So yeah, and here's what we got. Stop yelling at your kids. Greg used to joke with me and call me Joe Jackson because all my kids are musicians and I've always worked with them. I trained them and taught them at least when they were young. And he said, "You quit being Joe Jackson." I said, "Okay, he was my see because I've never Greg, who's my vice president, very best friend on the planet. I've never heard Greg yell, not one time. I don't know if anybody in America's heard Greg yell. So he
Good.
he can listen to this podcast with no guilt because he's good. But obviously all of us who have parented need to hear some of these strategies. Now that's the next part I want to get into. I know the landing gear is down. This is why we just have to have you on a regular cycle because the time goes by so fast. Give us some tips and strategies that you can help us? Just give us three or four strategies to help parents not yell when something isn't going right.
Well, first of all, the most common reason parents yell, if you ask parents, they'll say, because I asked my child 3 or 4 times, they don't listen, and then I have to yell.
Mhm.
And that is why people believe that my children do not listen unless I yell.
Right.
Except that the bad news is, parents, and I say this with all kinds of love, you have trained your children to do that. I know that sounds terrible, but you have trained them to wait until you yell. Why?
That
Because,
is
like
so
CL
true.
said before, you're not being consistent. You
Right.
need to, if there is a recurring issue, like they're not putting down their tablet, you need to create a consequence with them.
Mhm.
And then when the first time you ask, the first time, not the fifth time, the first time you ask, if they don't listen, the consequence is done.
Mhm.
And that has to happen every time that issue occurs.
So Celia, pause right there. But you only give us one tip so far, but I gotta ask you, this whole counting thing. I'm not a fan of the counting thing. What is your thoughts on it?
One,
Yeah, they get to
two.
100 and the kid's still like, yeah, okay.
I'll tell you what, I used to do that with my incredibly smart daughter. I would go one,
Uh,
two, three, and she would go four, five, six.
when your
So,
kids start counting for you, you know you're in a mess.
it's a way, it's a no-win situation.
Right.
It does work for some children,
Yeah.
and it's like one to, it's at
Right.
least a calm way to encourage them.
Right.
But there are a lot of other ways to encourage them as well.
All right. Give us a
But
couple. Give us a couple more tips.
okay, number two tip, thank you. So thank you. This is a like magic tip, and
Okay.
I will give it to you all.
All right.
I only give this tip to my best clients, so you're all my best clients. Say thank you for something you want them to do before they do it. For instance, if your child tends to spill milk, hand them a cup and say thank you for being careful with your cup. They
Mhm.
now have to live up to your expectation because you already thanked them. If they tend to kick their sister, thank you for being careful with your legs before they even kick somebody.
That's a post dated check. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So now they have like, okay, well, mom already thanked me for being such a nice person. I have to like be great. And it's actually the way the mind works with that is they're hearing when you say thank you for being careful with your cup, they're hearing be careful with your cup.
Mm.
When you say don't spill your milk, they hear spill your milk. So it's it's really, number one, it's very positive.
Right.
Number two, it prevents a lot of issues and yelling, and they feel wonderful. You're like thanking them already. It's like a happy moment. Be like, thank you for being great already.
Okay, Celia, both you and I are talkers. Me and Celia
Yeah.
said before the show, 45 minutes is just a warm up for both of us. But I want to ask for a tip or two in the older category because some parents are parenting teenagers who
Okay.
are a different animal, if you will. So what
So here's teenagers, which I always say are just big toddlers. So I highly recommend that you do weekly family meetings. And we don't have a lot of time to go into what a family meeting is,
right.
but basically it's a 15 to 20-minute non-confrontational, no judgment, no criticism zone where you talk about what's going on and you give your child the actual opportunity to talk about any kind of consequence or remedies if there's a problem. This isn't working out. I've been trying to get you to put your phone down when you sleep. I do that because I'd like you to get a good night's sleep.
Right.
How can you make this happen? Well, Mom, I'd really like to just at least have my phone till 10:30. Would that work? Yes, that would work. Okay, so at 10:30, I can come and we can put the phone away. Yes, compromise. And what that does is that tells your child that not only do you trust them to make wise decisions, you honor them by asking them for their opinion, and you are actually valuing their opinion. And when teenagers say, well, if you ask a teenager, why are you disconnected from your family? They will tell you almost 100% of the time, nobody listens to me. Nobody cares what I have to say. Nobody, nobody does anything that even concerns me. And no one has anything ever asked my opinion. They don't even care. And this is a way that you actually get to hear your child, value their opinion, and put it into action when they have a great suggestion.
Well, I can tell you this. Uh-oh, there goes the music. I can tell you this, that listening to and getting your child's input, in particular, your teenagers and even late teenagers, we were doing that quite frequently. The whole family meeting and strategy and input and all that, and the house just runs so much smoother when you have that. Like I said, that organic and that communal approach to this. Because guess what, we're doing life together. We're
That's
doing
right.
life together. And so listen, I only got 3 minutes left before the music cuts off, and then the floor opens up and I fall out and nobody can see me again. Celia, give our parents a message. Take 35, 40 seconds. Give our parents a message from you. As we go into summertime, they're going to be around each other a lot more. And just give a message of encouragement to our families, would you?
So, first of all, start noticing the positive. Your kids do a lot of good. Don't always chime in when something's going wrong. When you realize they've been all doing great and doing their schoolwork, and it's been an hour now, but all of a sudden maybe they have a little tip and that's when they hear from you. No. When to walk in the middle of that and say, gosh, guys, you're doing like great homework. I really appreciate you getting all this done before dinner. Thank you so much. Compliment them. Let them know when their behavior is what you want their behavior to be. They ultimately want to please you. I know it doesn't seem that way, but they ultimately want to please you. And when they know they are, they will do more of that behavior, regardless of their age, and less of the behavior that displeases you.
Tremendous. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we had her back so soon. My guest, our guest on Impact Life 24/7, Celia Kibler. I'd love for you to connect with her. Just go to talkwithcelia.com, pumpedupparenting.com, celiakibler.com. But if you want to do that 1 hour free, look at the value of that. I ain't even going to tell you how much it costs to get her coaching. So she's giving you a 1 hour free session relative to parenting, and you can just discuss strategy and relook at things. I'm just telling you what, sometimes stepping back and talking with someone that's a professional like Celia can make a world of difference. And
Yes.
we don't, I can tell you what, I think we all want, especially after what we've gone through this last year, we want homes of harmony, Celia. We want homes of peace. And our
Exactly.
audience is commenting that this was an absolutely amazing show. Learned a lot. Super great show. People love Celia Kibler. So guess what, Celia? We'll have you back again. I think you already got the link. So just schedule yourself to come on back as we begin school. Let's look at maybe like September, first week of September. Go ahead, and if it'll let you go out that far. If not, contact us and we'll get you on the books. Okay.
Sounds great. And I
Celia
appreciate you having me
Celia
again.
Kibler, man, she's got some great books out. She's got 4 books, one for parenting. So go to celiakibler.com. Connect with her today. If you want that free parenting strategy, talk with Celia. Man, I'm telling you what we heard in just an hour, I can't imagine having an hour strategy session with her. It's going to be rich. Thank you so much, Celia, for all Celia, for all that you've done for us and for our show. It's almost like family here at Impact Life 24/7. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me,
All right,
Celia.
we'll talk again soon. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I managed to mess up everybody's name on the show. I hope that everyone got something out of this. I certainly did. Even at 47 nearly, with kids that are 21, 20, 18, and 16 living in the house, I got something that, hey man, I can use some of her strategies. I heard some stuff that I can apply. Even if I'm thinking about toddlers, I can retrofit this to a 21-year-old. And definitely not having to yell. Yes, Dr. Dunlap, just a total change of pace for me because I didn't want to take myself too seriously because nothing was going well. The wardrobe wasn't going well. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy life and I'm not gonna lose it. I'm gonna be calm, I'm gonna be collected, and none of the stuff worked tonight. But we're thankful that we were able to have someone of this magnitude and impact on the show. She's going to reach 1 million people, 1 million parents, telling them, hey, man, I got strategies for you not to yell at your kids. And though we cannot unring a bell, we can surely have control over the bells that we ring in the future. So I'm not going to yell. Y'all hear that? I'm saying that on live international, on a live international podcast. I'm going to find a way to make that a part of my repertoire. I'm not guiltless in this arena, okay, y'all? I'm not. He is without sin. Let him cast the first stone. But we all, ladies and gentlemen, I feel that have parented, know that sometimes there are struggles. But we also know that when we hear rich, applicable, practical techniques like this, man, we can. So thank you for everyone that tuned in. Thank you for all of our listeners around the country and around the world. Impacting Life is Monday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. live here. And you can go to clkingspeaker.com to subscribe to our podcast and never miss an episode. All right. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow night on Impacting Life 24/7 with CL King.